the world is in like Walking Dead apocalypse, like
Right.
in 3 days.
Yeah.
Because the lights need turned on and the traffic lights need checked and the bank needs to be run. And, like everything falls apart if you don't go do your job.
Right.
That's where it goes back to like, you have to have a vision and a purpose for yourself.
Welcome to the Hope in Real Life podcast with Jason Gore. Our team is passionate and committed to bringing you more hope in the everyday, real areas of your life. If this conversation and content is valuable for you, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and even share. You never know how valuable it could be to share a little bit of hope with someone else. Let's get the conversation started. Well, welcome back, Hope in Real Life family. We are here today with my good friend, Ben Foote. Always a favorite when he is spending time with us. I mean, he might be a favorite when he's not spending time with us, but I mean, it's more of a favorite when he is. We are talking this week. If you don't know, Ben is a husband, father, speaker. He's now an entrepreneur. We'll get into that a little bit. This episode is going to be all about the idea of work. And so whether that's transitions in the workplace, how do we approach work? What if we don't like our work? And anywhere else the conversation might go. So Ben,
Great.
Welcome back.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Let's just jump right in. High level, what is the purpose of work?
Well, okay. That's a big question.
It is a big question.
I think this is where like following Jesus makes life a little bit easier because following Jesus gives you like a foundation for how to view everything in the world, including work. So like if you don't follow Jesus, I don't know how you answer that question.
Yeah.
Like maybe,
and knowing that we probably got a lot of listeners that might not be.
Yeah.
And so probably realizing there's more than one paradigm for that question to live in.
I mean, I'd love to hear what they thought work was, like it's just making money or something to just like a necessary evil of life or whatever. But like within our worldview, work is like basically what we were designed to do, So like if you go read Genesis, like the very first verse of the Bible, in the beginning God got to work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And then
he did something very productive.
Yeah, he got his hands dirty. Yeah. He, created, he worked. And then like even in perfection, like before things get screwed up, like in the first chapter of Genesis, it's called like the cultural mandate. But like God tells people like, go be fruitful, go multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over like he tells you like, go get to work, So like in our worldview, it's like we're created, like spiritually we're created to glorify God and relationally we're created to walk and talk with him. But like functionally, we're created to work, like co-create with him, go help him further the creation project together.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we miss it, like when the Bible says in Genesis, as you said, that we're created in his image. Mm-hmm. That's a large part of what that means. Like he is a creator. He is productive. He is building things that are good. And so us being created in that image, we actually take on and have taken on not only that responsibility, but like that ability, the ability to create,
go
the
get to
ability
work.
to build. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that was even in perfection, which like, 'cause sometimes I think we think about it like I have to work, because I got to make money.
What if Eve had just not taken a bite?
It's all
Would we just get to be fruitful and multiply and that's it? But we didn't have to do the other thing.
That part's fun.
That is, no one complains about that.
But yeah, even in perfection, man, like two things in perfection. He's like, go get to work. Like this project isn't done yet, so let's co-create together. And then also in perfection, he gives Sabbath. So it's like, also once a week, like let's take a break from doing this work thing together. That was before things were hard, So like work in the big, you asked like the big overview of work, and the big overview of work is anything that moves the creation project like forward.
Yeah.
So.
And then I caught it. Good. It's good, and the lid's on,
and it almost spilled on all the electronics.
For those that are watching and listening, our good friend Ben, that we always appreciate when he's here, almost spilled water all over some electronics.
I almost ruined this place.
Hey, so that's one paradigm, but let's kind of speak to the other paradigm, and I think I can a little bit. When I was in I grew up. My dad was a custom cabinet maker, and then he
Custom
worked,
cabinet
maker.
Okay.
Yeah, so grew up a lot of time in the wood shop, and in the cabinet shop, and then my stepdad was also an entrepreneur. He had his own business, Apex Propane, and then my dad, not only did he have the cabinet shop, but he also worked for the railroad. And so it was like, for all of our entrepreneurs out there, like when you run a business, it just doesn't stop. Like life, you've got work to do, and so you go and get it done. But they both were pretty successful at what they did and how they did it. So I grew up with that understanding, but we didn't have the business that like made millions, right? And so we were largely a blue collar family, and that was great. But I also had this thing in my mind of like, man, a lot of my friends do have more than I have, and I wonder like what it would be like to have an opportunity to have more than that. And so for me, and then with the sports background, a lot of that just came into, okay, well, you got to grind, you got to work. And so I went into college really thinking my goal is to get this business degree and then either go and get an MBA or jump into the business world. And I'm going to make a lot of money. In fact, one of the things I did in college was I was a valet, and for a company, and I was specifically requested to do so at the country club. Not because I ever really wanted to be a part of a country club. Sorry, listeners, if you're a part of a country club, I'm sure it's great.
You just lost an invite.
It's yeah, it's a little bit more bougie than my taste typically. But there were really nice cars that came through there.
Oh,
and so for me, that was almost like this reminder of no, there is more. Keep grinding, keep working. And so I came out of college. Some things happened towards the end of college where like God really grabbed a hold of me and started to change my perspective. But I'd already kind of set off down a career path. And so for me, it was all about how do I get a job that then will lead to a paycheck that then I can get the next job, and then I can get the next job, and then I can get the next job. But even in that, I mean, if that's all work was, like number one, that is draining when you don't actually, what if you have a job that you don't necessarily like, or what if you don't love your field forever, but you've gotten here to here to here to here, and now there's no going back. It's draining. Secondly, like, man, that can be purposeless. Right. I mean, at some point, even whether you get it or you don't, I mean, let's say you get it all. Okay. Now I have money. Now what?
Yeah.
Or worst case, I was fighting for the money and I didn't get it, and I got fired, or I'm not getting the promotion over and over again. Man, you got to admit, like at some point, and I know we probably got a lot of listeners like, yeah, that's where I am. And this is frustrating. I don't like work.
The purposeless, like the visionless aspect of work. I mean, like I talk to people all the time where like what you said, so the goal is I got this paycheck, and my next goal is that this paycheck goes up, and I get this role and this role and this role. And so like your vision is to just make a lot of money. Well, then you get there, you make a lot of money, you have all the cars that, you saw at the country club. Now what? Yeah. Right? Or the purpose is like, I've got something to prove. Maybe that was, I don't know if that was part of your story, but like, I grew up in this kind of blue collar family. I'm going to prove that there's, if you grind, you can do something bigger than that. Yeah. It's like, well, then you achieve it. Now what?
Right.
It's like, it's not a good vision for your life. And you spend 90,000 hours. On average, you spend 90,000 hours working.
In a lifetime?
In a lifetime.
So you've done the math.
Yeah, I did the math. It's 22% of your waking life.
Wow.
Like on average, you spend, I just looked at it this morning again to kind of like refresh my memory. On average, you spend like 42,000 hours with your friends and family. Wow. Dude, you spend twice as much time working, If you don't have a vision for why what you do is important, and it's more than just making a buck. Well, dude, that's why we talk to all the people who, I'm sure you have too, but I've talked to a lot of people who pull up in like, the newest Tesla, and they're visionless and like aimless in the Cybertruck. I saw a Cybertruck on the road the other day.
Yeah. I have all kinds of thoughts about Teslas, but I won't share them because, well, I do. I mean, Elon Musk. I don't need him mad at us throwing stones over X or anything like that either. So, man, yeah. Well, let's do this. You've recently made a big career choice, and so I know there's probably some folks out there that are like, yeah, not doing the job that I thought I would want to do forever. And I really would like a move, but I don't know if I've really got what it takes or if this is the right time. Why don't you just talk a little bit for a minute about your recent career change and what that looks like for you?
Sure. So I pastored at a church in Colorado for 12 years. And then in April of last year, 2023, stepped off of staff. So, I mean, I still do ministry. So it's not like I did a complete career change. But I stepped off of a staff. I just contract. So like, that's why I'm here now, building relationships with other churches. Some churches just need help teaching right now. Mm-hmm. Some churches, like the lead pastor is like, I just need like one weekend with my family.
Yeah.
So I travel around, teach at different places. But we made that decision just because we were, this might sound foreign to some people, but I'm sure you get it. Like, we just felt very clearly God was going like, it's time for you to do something different and mix it up right now. So we mixed it up, but it was a little terrifying because we go from like, I'm on staff. I have like a regular paycheck. I have my insurance is paid for, like there's a package.
You mean it was?
It was. Yeah. And now it's like, we're just out here on our own.
Right.
And yeah, so it's been pretty terrifying. It's been really rewarding, but, we just decided to mix it up. I was starting to feel not purposeless or aimless, but just in a rut, man. And like, I'm sure many people know what that feels like.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just doing the same thing that I've been doing for years and years and years. And sometimes that's a good thing, but for us, it was like, I'm just getting exhausted by it.
Yeah. Hope in Real Life family, I want to take a moment and let you know about a resource that we have for you for your own personal development, spiritual enrichment, and really a way for you to find a bit more hope in real life. We have a tool for you called the Hope in Real Life app. It offers things like parenting tips, financial resources, marriage insights. If you're looking for it, there's even Bible reading plans in there. And there's a community where you can even share prayer requests and know that someone is praying for you for whatever it is that you have going on in your life. It's available right now in the Apple App Store or in Google Play. You can search Hope in Real Life in both stores, or you can use the download link that is in the show notes. Remember, tomorrow can be better than today, and hope is possible even in real life. So for you, what was it that like, because I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm thinking about making a change. I'm going to make a change. Here's my resignation. Mm-hmm. Like, what was it? What was that time period like in between where you thought, okay, maybe it's time for a change? And then what was the moment that actually led you to, it's time to pull the trigger?
Honestly, it was like a year and a half of Allie and I talking about it.
You can leave names out if you want. I'm just kidding.
It was like a year and a half, Allie and I talking about it. It's my wife talking about it, exploring other ideas. Like, what if we went and worked at a different church? What if I just didn't do ministry anymore? Yeah. What if, exploring different options. But I kept coming back to like the thing I know I want to do is I love teaching, and I feel I've been gifted at it. And that's the only thing in my life that I feel like it would be disobedient if I stopped doing it right now. So it's like, I have to teach, but I need a break from being on staff at a church. It like left us with no options. And honestly, over that year and a half, I think that God works this way sometimes. He did, at least in my life. He just like made us so dissatisfied.
Yeah.
That eventually it was like, I'd rather literally not know where my next paycheck comes from than continue being this dissatisfied. Yeah. So we just pulled the trigger.
Gotcha. All right. And it's working out so far?
It's working out. I mean, money's very different.
Right.
And, but that's like one of the few cons right now, honestly. Yeah. There's been so many pros.
I know for me, I was, maybe 24. I don't know. More than a couple of decades ago. I was working in sales for a company here in the Triangle, making more money than probably a 24-year-old definitely needed to make, maybe should have made. But I was serving at this church, which is the same church, ironically, that I'm on staff at now. But I was involved in the youth ministry. I'd helped start a college ministry, times were really desperate. So like there were times where I was a worship leader. If you don't know what that means in church world, like I had a guitar and sang and led bands, and it was not great. We call those the dark years, but we. But I mean that's where I put my time. But my wife was right alongside me in ministry. Is what we call that, and what as folks call that. But it got to a point where we were probably serving 25, 30 hours a week outside of work. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, so this is nice and the paycheck is really great, but man, this is life-giving. And I want to be really clear here because we're, you got a couple guys on here that work in ministry.
You're going
and
where I'm going right now.
We got people thinking like, okay, what do these guys even know about work anyway? But whether that's your question or not, what I'm not saying is your purpose needs to be, you're going to find purpose if you leave the marketplace, secular world and go and staff at a church. No. In fact, I would say if you understand your purpose as a child of God in the secular world, I actually would say, for God's sakes, please stay there. Mm-hmm. The world needs men and women who will bring a light to a dark place on a daily basis that the church otherwise would never get to. Mm-hmm. And so that's not what I'm saying. But for us, we just felt a very similar discontentment. Now, I don't know if the discontentment was, I don't like this, because that wasn't necessarily the case. I liked actually working in sales. I love building relationships. For me, I view sales as, you're just taking care of people and you're helping them meet the needs that they have. And so I loved that. But man, this was so life-giving, and I felt like I could create in a way that I wasn't having somebody else telling me like, hey, you don't really create anything. Mm-hmm. You just go and take care of people, and then you give them what we've already created. And so I just got to a point where I was like, man, I wonder if there's a way that I could go and do this. And Hope came to me one day and said, hey, we'd love to have you come on staff, and we're going to pay you a lot less money than you currently make. Mm-hmm. And they did. Mm-hmm. And a lot less. And so I ended up going on set. But like for us, like it was kind of a similar thing. We just got to a point where I was like, man, there's so much life over here in this. We're going to take a swing. But gosh, I don't want to keep talking. There's probably 2 or 3 other big transitions that I could talk through, and maybe I'll come back. But you said that's where I'm going. Anything you were going to say about that?
So I want to be careful because I think we compartmentalize a lot, right. And we say like there's Jesus stuff that we do, and then there's not Jesus stuff we do. So like, I'm going to church this morning, that's Jesus stuff. Or I woke up and read my Bible and I prayed, and that's Jesus stuff. And then everything else is not Jesus stuff because I'm just paying the bills and making dinner and whatever. It's like, that's just not how it works. And so if we compartmentalize, then there's the tendency for people to go like, well, I guess the only kind of Jesus work is if you work at a church or like work at a nonprofit. Yeah. And that's just like a bad way of viewing your life and the world. And not even like, sure, great, like be a witness in a dark place. But also just like your job is short of like illegal activity or whatever. Like your job is Jesus stuff. Right. Yeah. Because it's moving the creation project forward.
Right. Like work can be worship.
Work is worship. Yeah. Like, if everyone quit their jobs today, I mean, we're one of the few people, if we quit our jobs today, everything's going to be just fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's, Don't say that
It's
again.
true. It's like, we work for a movement that's not going to go anywhere. Right. But like if everyone else quits their jobs, like the world is in like Walking Dead apocalypse in 3 days. Yeah. Because the lights need turned on, and the traffic lights need checked, and the bank needs to be run. Right. And, like everything falls apart if you don't go do your job. Right. That's where it goes back to like, you have to have a vision and a purpose for yourself. Like I even tell people who are struggling with their like career and feel just like aimless in it and stuff, I challenge people to like make an actual vision statement for yourself with your job. Like I did that for myself. So mine is to creatively communicate a constant God to a constantly changing culture. If I'm doing that, I'm achieving my vision. Right. That's how I was able to quit my job, make less money, not know where my next paycheck's going to come from, but also feel like I'm on mission, right? Because I'm still achieving my vision statement. Right. If my vision statement was to continually make more money, I'm failing, right? But it's not my vision statement. dude, like having a clear picture of why your job is ministry that doesn't just involve like, well, maybe I can invite someone to church. Not how is your job a ministry?
Right.
Is like a key to life fulfillment.
Yeah. Like God has placed people in your life where you work that will probably never have an opportunity to come face to face with Jesus, possibly would never have an opportunity to come face to face with Jesus if you don't view your life as ministry in the workplace.
So yes, absolutely. But also you have to figure out, how is my job ministry?
Yeah.
So, okay. So, at our old house a few years ago, it was like a split level, and the bottom level had, like a sewage backup. So we had like literal sewage.
Love
like,
where this is going. No idea where this is going.
We had literal sewage seeping into our basement, into our carpet. Like, it was disgusting. So we call this random plumber that like was, our insurance recommended to us. This guy comes over to our house and he's like, "Hey, are you Ben? Do you go work at the church?" And we're like, "Yeah." He starts talking. He goes, "My dad was a pastor." And he goes, "And I always kind of thought I would follow in his footsteps. But," he goes, "I was just kind of good with my hands, good with, fixing things." And he goes, "So I just got into plumbing." And he goes, "But it took me a few years before I realized," and this is what he said, he goes, "I like literally step into the crappiest," no joke, like situations in people's lives and make them better for them.
Yeah.
And he goes, "My job is like just as much ministry as my dad's job is, because I'm helping, I'm serving people."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he had a vision for how plumbing is, like, his job is necessary and fruitful.
Yeah.
If you don't have that for your job, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah. Hope in Real Life family, another great conversation as always with Ben Foote. We are going to press pause here on this episode so that we can keep the conversation going over into episode 2. Such an important topic, man, how we view work. So we're going to press pause now. We will pick it back up. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the other side. Let's keep sharing hope. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hope in Real Life podcast. If this content was valuable for you, don't forget, like, subscribe, share. You never know how important it could be to bring a little hope into someone else's life. There's even a place here for you to comment. We would love to hear from you and hear your feedback. Until next time, let's keep sharing hope.